So it's Wednesday, and the shows that I'm going to be talking about today, last week's NXT and Impact, are both going to be airing tonight, strangely enough, one being on the WWE Network and the other being on Destination America. And I know what you're probably asking yourself, oh, and you talked about bringing Ring of Honor to this channel. Yeah, I've been kind of busy. Obviously, we are starting announcement season for Halloween Horror Nights. As a matter of fact, there's a good possibility by the time you see this video, it will officially be announced we have our ticket prices on sale for Halloween Horror Nights 25. And a good possibility that Insidious has been announced as a house on the East Coast and a maze on the West, but that's another story altogether. Or maybe, potentially, neither of these things have happened. But I will state right now that we're going to be talking NXT first, and if you are new to this and you only found this video because of the podcast, number one, welcome. Number two, I start off with NXT and then I go into Impact, and for those of you that like to skip to Impact, you're more than welcome to follow the description bar. There is going to be a timestamp on it, and you can just bomb out after the NXT review is over. But if you are here for NXT, you can see what time it starts, and if you're here for Impact, you can see what time it starts and skip to it. So I'm pretty much trying to appeal to both demographics right now, so that's basically what we're doing here. So that being said, we're going to start off with NXT from last week, and of course both of these will be airing tonight, so the new episodes obviously we'll talk about next week. I'm a week behind when it comes to NXT and Impact. It's done by design, and it's done to fit the schedule of this channel. So we start off the show with Adam Rose and Tyler Breeze. This match springs from a tag team match that was had a couple of weeks ago with Finn Balor and Hideo Itami. And after the match was over, Tyler Breeze left Adam Rose laying in the center of the ring. Now, of course, we get a match here. Adam Rose, of course, comes out and the crowd was starting to chant, "We want Kruger," and showing a lot of his old Leo Kruger tendencies here. And we pick it up off the midway point where there's a really nice spinebuster, great spinebuster from Adam Rose. Turns it into the Bahamian Crab. And yes, that is locked on until Tyler Breeze gets to the bottom rope. And he basically crawls under the bottom rope to try to break the hold. He does succeed in breaking the hold, but does not succeed in escaping the leg drop that hits him in the back of the neck, courtesy of Adam Rose. And then he hits the Cactus Jack hip buster with a nice Foley chant from the Full Sail crowd. Tosses him back in the ring, comes off the ropes, going for the slice, eats the beauty shot, 1, 2, 3, match over. Good way to kick off the show. And it's one of those matches you don't know exactly who's the face and who's the heel, given the fact that both of them have been portrayed as both. And given the fact that Tyler Breeze, right now, looks to be kind of on the back burner, but I think that eventually he's going to get brought up to the upper echelon of NXT talents, once again fighting for the NXT Championship. But we'll talk about that later. We get Devin in the back with Solomon Crow, and Solomon Crow basically says that he feels beaten now after the match with Kevin Owens last week, but it's okay by him. It's not really something he hasn't faced before. He'll be back in the ring in no time, and he definitely wants another crack at Kevin Owens and the NXT Championship. But he doesn't say Owens' name by name. He just says he wants the NXT Champion. So look into that any way you want to. So we get him also saying that Samoa Joe is okay by him. So obviously Joe made the save, so Crow wouldn't be victimized by the apron bomb last week. We get Greg Hamilton comes out, and he has a very special guest, someone not very liked by the Full Sail crowd, and that's being polite, and that's Eva Marie. She's booed so heavily that she's not able to cut her promo, and she gets the "You Can't Wrestle" chant from the entire crowd here. She basically says she was an unstoppable because she wanted to see the women stealing the show, like they did, and she hopes to be able one day to compete with them in the center of the ring. So Eva Marie could be a very viable asset as a heel in NXT for a long time, especially if the rumors are true that she's been working with Brian Kendrick, and she's getting a lot better in the ring. So saying that she can't wrestle, that has been pretty obvious for a while, but there's a good possibility very soon it will not be. William Regal makes an official announcement for a tiny press conference that on July 4th in Tokyo, Japan, I was trying to figure out what arena, but I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just going to wing it. Tokyo, Japan will be hosting a special show that will be main evented by the NXT Championship being defended by Kevin Owens against Finn Balor. Now, there was a lot of information when they first announced this show, and when it was a house show, it was supposed to be Finn Balor against Chris Jericho, and that was a match that all of us wanted to see. Jericho is now going to be facing off against Adrian Neville now, so match should be still good. Regal makes an announcement. John Cena will be there. He's in tag team action with Dolph Ziggler against Kane and Wade Barrett. You also have Brock Lesnar facing off against Kofi Kingston, and if you watched my statements on the Raw Popcast a couple days ago, you would understand exactly why I think that match is more than meets the eye to it. As well as the Lucha Dragons, who are going to be facing off against Los Matadores. Paige taking on Naomi and Divas Champion Nikki Bella, and other matches to be announced. Now, this will be live from Japan, and because of Japan, we have a time difference. And this time difference will allow the show to start on the WWE Network on July 4th at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that means, for those of you that are going to be watching this event at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, prepare yourself, because Ashley, myself, and Aaron will be doing a live podcast at God only knows how early in the morning, right after the conclusion of this special event, and we're going to be talking all about it. So that's coming your way, and I already have that worked out with everyone involved, and we're going to shoot that out to you guys that day. It'll be out available for July 4th if you have a chance when you're done barbecuing and setting off fireworks, legal or illegal, depending on how you're looking at things, or going to the park, or doing all the random things people do on July 4th to celebrate the nation's birthday. Then sit back, relax, and let Ashley, Aaron, and myself talk about the WWE show in Japan from the podcast. We'll talk about that later. More information comes soon. So, of course, we've been building towards a match between Alexa Bliss, who, like I said, looks absolutely gorgeous as a heel. I absolutely love it. I like her. Like I said, she's a vamp. That's what she reminds me of. And she faced off against Carmella. This match wasn't the greatest by any means whatsoever. And it basically picks up at the point that Alexa Bliss goes for the glitz flip and she misses. And Carmella does this really weird dance and boots her in the side of the head. She hits the edge-o-matic and pulls her. She gets pulled into the buckle. O'Connor roll with the ropes by Alexa Bliss, and she steals the win. So we're still building towards the 6-person tag match that has happened on NXT house shows, but has not yet happened on NXT television. And I do think that Blake and Murphy, along with Alexa Bliss, will be taking on Enzo Amore, Big Cass, and Carmella in the near future. And I do think we're oscillate, it's not even a word, maybe close to like oscillating fan. I don't know, it's kind of hot in here. But basically, I think we're building towards them defending the NXT Tag Team Championships against Enzo and Cass at probably not TakeOver, because that's not until August. So probably maybe in the next tapings, potentially. We'll build it out like that. And then maybe the Ascension can return and try to stake claim to being the top tag team in NXT history. But we'll talk about that at another time. So, we get Rhino, and he's in the back, and he's talking about the main event, which he's going to have with Finn Balor. He says he had fun facing off against Baron Corbin, but every match, every gore is one step closer to the NXT Championship. I like what they're doing with Rhino. I like the fact that utilizing his veteran status to actually help put over some up-and-coming talent, and I guess you could say that from a WWE perspective, because obviously the people that he's facing are really not up-and-coming, like Finn Balor and Sami Zayn are not up-and-coming talent. But the match with Baron Corbin really got him over. Hopefully they do something with him. Haven't seen Corbin in a minute, so I have a feeling he will probably either be on this week's coming up show that I don't know exactly what's on the card because I don't read spoilers, or he'll be at the next set of NXT tapings at Full Sail, which is coming up next week. So we've got that. Sami Zayn's shoulder surgery was a great success, and he will be returning prospectively to action in October. So look for Sami Zayn to return and be back before, not this coming TakeOver, but the next TakeOver afterwards. So maybe we're looking at him to return in December. So he probably could be in a ring competing before the end of 2015, if not the very beginning of 2016. Potential special entry in the Royal Rumble jumps out at me, possibly. We get the return of the Vaudevillains. Haven't seen them in quite a while, and they're in tag team action against Jason Jordan, and his partner du jour this week is Marcus Louis, looking very much like he just came out of a character audition at Halloween Horror Nights. And given the time this was filmed, that's not possible. But still, he does give off that Horror Nights character vibe, and I think given the fact that Full Sail is not so close, but it's in the vicinity of Universal Orlando, I do think that they will probably make some sort of Halloween Horror Nights reference from Marcus Louis if they continue to have him wrestle on a weekly basis, which they haven't. We haven't had him in a long time. Since he got his head shaved, he pretty much went psycho, and now he growls at people. And I said he could come off like a soccer hooligan, kind of like what they were going to do with Nigel in TNA when they brought him in. And they kind of like got away from that slightly, even though he still had the soccer jersey, but still, that's another story altogether. But I think I like the way they're doing with this. Hopefully they do something with it. I think it's something that would fit the house shows really well. If it's not television ready, I think the descent into madness for Marcus Louis is definitely a good idea. And no Sylvester Lefort. I don't know if he's injured or he's just not on program right now, but we'll look at that another way. So yeah, this match was basically just Jordan tags himself in, and he starts working Aiden English over. Simon Gotch gets tagged in, and this is after Marcus Louis had some action for a bit. He knocks Louis off the ring apron, and they hit the Whirling Dervish, and they get the 3 count. So Vaudevillains back in the saddle for the NXT Tag Team division, and hopefully someday they will end up being NXT Tag Team Champions. Vaudevillains are a great act, a wonderful act. I know what you can say about them. I understand completely. I know that there are specific people that are being kind of, I guess you could say, ripped off, if you will. I think it's the right word, I would say. And I'm betting right now someone would be like, yeah, we're getting ripped off. But yeah, I've liked the gimmick for a long time. I understand that other people can and have done it better, but I still have always enjoyed the Vaudevillains, and I'm really curious to see where they end up in the NXT Tag Team division. I know they were viable challengers for the Tag Team Championships. I think now that it looks like we're transitioning them to a babyface team eventually. And they were working face against Blake and Murphy on the house show, so I think that's what they're going to continue with. We get a short promo from Finn Balor in the back. He says when he faces Kevin Owens in Japan, he has to understand that the law of averages is really not on Owens' side, given the fact that he made his name in Japan. Prince Devitt, obviously. Everyone knows about his pedigree in Japan. And he's won 11 championships, so Kevin Owens definitely needs to beware. We get our main event, Finn Balor and Rhino. I like this match a lot. So Balor sets up for Reverse Bloody Sunday. Rhino counters, shoves him off to the ropes, and makes him eat the spine buster for a near fall. So we get the normal offense from Balor. Pele kick, sling blade, shotgun drop kick, heads up top for the coup de grace. He lands on his feet because Rhino moves out of the way. Rhino charges for the gore, and he goes shoulder first into the buckle. Roll up from behind, 1, 2, 3, and Finn Balor wins. He celebrates, and he celebrates a little bit too long because when he gets to the top of the ramp, he finally does his pose, which Rhino mocked him for earlier on in the match, and he gets gored out of his boots by the Man Beast, and that's how we end the show. A Rhino-Finn Balor feud, got no issues with it. I love how they're using Rhino in NXT, and I think it's going to be awesome to see what they do with him from this moment forward. Another thing that is going to be a big deal, that is tonight on NXT, on the WWE Network, the official in-ring debut of Samoa Joe. Yeah, I believe he's facing Scott Dawson, if I read that correctly. I'm not positive. Don't quote me on that, but I will say that I'm pretty sure that's right. So, one half of the Mechanics is going to be facing off with Samoa Joe on television tonight. So, I checked that out. Obviously, every show is getting closer to a takeover, even though we got a long way till takeover, not till August. Given the fact it's June already, so that's only 2 months, so that's not that bad. We don't know who's the face and who's the heel with Adam Rose and Tyler Breeze. I do think that Adam Rose is eventually going to get rid of the gimmick and go back to being Leo Kruger, but this time Leo Kruger is a babyface. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but maybe keep the gimmick of Adam Rose, but be more like Leo Kruger. I guess they're kind of transitioning that. I think that may end up being the case. Eva Marie has gold written all over her if she is able to get the wrestling part of her character worked out. If she can be hated like she is. She has natural born hateability, which, say what you want about that on a personal scale, but her character is very hateable given to her how she is portrayed in Total Divas. Editing is a masterpiece sometimes. It can really make people hate you that you don't have a real reason to do so, and make people love you for no apparent reason. So it depends on how the editor feels about you in order how you get portrayed on television. That's exactly what Eva Marie is all about. And she could be a very credible heel for NXT if she is able to get the in-ring portion down. I think she might. Alexa Bliss getting better and better. I've never been a big fan of Carmella, but obviously we're getting towards that 6-person tag match with Blake and Murphy and Enzo and Cass, and obviously leading to Enzo and Cass taking the NXT Tag Team Championships from Blake and Murphy. I said it wouldn't happen last time, and it didn't. I think at the next TakeOver, it probably does, unless they put the titles on Enzo and Cass before that happens, and I could see that happening. We have some NXT NXT tapings at Full Sail coming up, so it's possible they do that. Vaudevillains now hopefully back in the tag team title picture. Jason and Jordan still can't find a viable tag team partner. Obviously, this is going to lead to Chad Gable. They kind of put the seeds down that they're going to make Chad Gable and Jason Jordan a team on television, what they've been doing on the house show circuit with the Shoot Nation gimmick, which I guess they kind of abandoned that as a stable, and they're going to make it just to a tag team. I think it could work really well if that ends up working. Maybe the new age version of the world's greatest tag team would probably be what Jordan and Gable are going to be like in the ring. And it fits perfectly. You really think about it. Love the main event, and I thought it worked really well. I love what they're doing with Rhino. Who would have thought that Rhino would make such an impact, pun not intended, in NXT, and I'm very happy to see this happening. It worked really well for me, and yeah, I definitely enjoyed the show. Now, a lot to talk about on TNA this week. And the show starts off with a barbershop quartet with a guy that looked very familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on where I've seen him before. I think he's probably like a Florida indie worker, if I had to guess. And I'm pretty sure I've seen 3 of those guys in theme parks. I don't know exactly where, whether they were Universal, SeaWorld, or Disney, but I'm pretty sure I've seen them in the theme parks before, and they were all doing the barbershop quartet. Actually, as a matter of fact, they might have been the strolling singers, like the carolers at SeaWorld's Christmas celebration, but I'm not positive on that. It's just, I never forget a face. I just sometimes forget exactly who that face is. So, 2 ladies escort Ethan Carter III to the ring, and of course Tyrus comes behind, and he is basically wearing a sign around his neck with a chain that says EC3 for Champ 2015. So he says, tonight is a night for America, because I am #1. Let the celebration begin. And the quartet sing, for he's the #1 contender, which nobody can deny, as red, white, and blue balloons fall in Soundstage 20. EC3 is excited. He calls Tyrus over. He's like, I feel like you want to dance. And Tyrus looks at him like he just killed someone. And he's like, He raises his arm and he's like, no, you guys don't need to see him dance. As a matter of fact, too bad. This is serious business. And of course, just for old time's sake, he personally himself starts the You Can't Wrestle, and he responds to, I'm very good, I disagree, and he says, I'm #1. Only one conquest left, and that is the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. So he calls out Kurt Angle. Obviously, he's the current champion. Angle comes out, he says, you know what? As much as I want to beat the daylights out of you right now, you have to understand, you have to stand in line. And Carter's like, what? And he's like, well, wait a minute. Why do I have to stand in line? I'm the #1 contender. Well, there's an option that's on the table right now that if Rockstar Spud wants to give up the X Division Championship, he can get me at Destination X. And he's like, no, that's not right. He's like, well, fine, I'll go talk to Spud, and we'll see what he's going to say. We're going to have a talk, and Angle ends up angle slamming the guy that looks like an indie worker, which probably was, and that's the start of the show. I've always liked the chemistry of EC3 and Kurt Angle, and I thought that they had some unfinished business that obviously you had to build to getting them back against one another again, but now that I think we're heading that way, I think that we're going to have a really awesome time going there, and I do think that come Slammiversary at the end of this month, Ethan Carter III becomes the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Finally. Maybe that's the return of Dixie Carter to television. Who knows? We'll see. She's been staying away from television, but I think that her name being mentioned tonight kind of makes me think that it's possible that she comes back. We get Eric Young and Lashley in the ring next. And match was short, straight and to the point. Eric Young goes for the pile driver, sets it up. Chris Melendez comes out to the top of the ramp. The distraction allows Lashley to backdrop out of it. He hits the murder death kill, and they get the 3 count off of that one. So Melendez runs out, and of course he wants to get a piece of Eric Young for ripping off his leg, literally, and trying to cause bodily harm permanently to him. So obviously he's gone a lot further than he should be. And Eric Young powders to the back. It was an okay match for what it was. I mean, I've seen good match between these two. These two have gone like 20 minutes classic before. This didn't need to be. I understand why this was done, and obviously we're setting up Chris Melendez and Eric Young to be the next feud. I don't have a problem with that. I like Melendez's promo style. I think it works really well. You can definitely tell he's Team 3D Wrestling Academy because he comes off a lot like Bully Ray when he talks. That's not a bad thing. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Bully's promo capabilities. Rockstar spun a decision to make, and he has to decide if he wants to utilize Option C or not. So obviously, all night, he's basically kind of like wrestling with his thoughts, wrestling with his emotions, and wrestling with the idea that he could become champion if he cashes in. But if he loses everything. It's literally all or nothing. A mantra I personally have for life. Ask anyone. So we get the Dollhouse in the back, and Marty Bell, Jade, and the TNA Knockouts champion Taryn Terrell looking pretty as ever. They're all doing the pillow talk with doll parts playing in the background, of course. It's like, bye-bye, Gail. And Taryn says she's going to give Kong a title shot. She's going to put the X in Destination X. She shows her cleavage, and she crosses a little X across her top of her chest. Hot, not gonna lie. Marty and Jade will be playing alone, so go get your victim. Obviously, we're talking about Rebel and or Brooke, depending on how you're looking at it. And Melendez, like I said, his promos are getting really good. He wants EY, and he wants him now. We get Austin Aries in the back, and he's trying to talk sense into Rockstar Spud. He has the Feast or Fire briefcase, because obviously, this decision isn't easy. Every man is cashed in. You could be different. You could go the way that is not as followed by most and not cash in and keep the X Division Championship. You know what? Just chew on that. It's a little food for thought. Obviously, Aries trying to put it in the head that it may not be a good idea to try to face Kurt Angle, because Angle is probably going to eat him for lunch. And if he somehow manages to get past Kurt Angle, he's got a very fresh Austin Aries to step in the ring with. So it's not going to bode well for Rockstar Spud if he decides to cash in at this rate. So Taryn and Rebel are both on at ringside. We get Jade and Brooke in a singles match. Basically, this match was short, straight, and to the point. And Marty ends up getting knocked off the ring apron by Jade accidentally. The Test Shocker connects, 1, 2, 3. And that's the end of that. So, just short match. That's all it was. Jeremy Borash is in the back with EC3. He feels obviously he's not comfortable being there. And he's like, got any thoughts on Rockstar Spud's decision? Carter looks at him and says, hair came in nice. You're welcome. So he calls Rockstar Spud a good hand, but he's a franchise. And he's the guy that's going to be the main event, not Rockstar Spud. Tyrus hands Ethan the phone, and he's like, you know what, I got to take this. So he bombs out. So where's this headed? We'll find out in a second. So the people that I've deemed the Lone Star Sweethearts, given the fact they're both from Texas, and it makes perfect sense, given the fact that they're very colorful ring attire, Rebel and Brooke are celebrating in the back, and they hug, and then Brooke goes to take a shower, and thoughts racing, but this allows for the Dollhouse to get the drop on Rebel and leave her laying, and of course, Jade stuffs the Jawbreaker in her mouth, and of course, it's playtime, so yeah. Dollhouse are ruling the roost in the Knockouts division one way or another. I like this. It's good for what it is. Say what you want about it. Beatdown Clan against the Rising, 3-on-3. We have a 6-man tag up next. And Eli Drake gets worked over for a while. Hot tag into Drew Galloway, comes in, he starts pounding away on Low-Ki in the corner. Hits the sick kick, Kenny King makes the save, Micah comes in. And Trouble in Paradise misses, and basically Micah tosses Kenny King to the floor, springboard flying body press. Low-Ki put on the top, a big chop from Galloway, he climbs up, and he goes for the future shock off the top. MVP crotches him, and of course he's kind of inadvertently tied to the trio woe that way. So MVP's fighting Eli Drake, and Low-Ki goes for Warrior's Way, but he gets countered by an overhead release Northern Light suplex on Low-Ki from Galloway. They pick him up, hit the Doomsday device on low key, and get the win. So, Beatdown Clan lose cleanly to the Rising. I think we're nearing the end of this feud. There's really not many directions we can go, other than the fact that we've got Galloway and MVP on the horizon, most likely at Slammiversary, and I think that's the direction we should go to blow this off once and for all, and then we can move on to different things for the others. I think that's a good idea. EC3 is told that he had a conversation on the phone call, and that phone call will change Rockstar Spud's life forever. That remains to be seen. So, oh boy. Mickie James is on the phone with Magnus. She arrives at the recording studio that James Storm set up meetings at, and there's nobody there but James Storm. We'll get to that. I'm trying to hold back talking about this for good reason. Probably should understand why. Rockstar Spud comes out, and he's going to make his decision, but he needs some more time. JB's like, nope, sorry, your time's up. Kurt Angle comes out, and he basically says, this is my 13th World Heavyweight Championship. I trained harder than I've ever trained to win this title, and there's no way I'm going to lose it. EC3 and Tyrus come out. Ethan reveals what he was doing on the phone. He was talking to Dixie Carter, and she revealed that she is going to offer a lifetime contract for Rockstar Spud as their chief of staff. So Spud and Carter can ride together again. But that's not going to work. Or is it? Carter says, you know what, just let me fulfill my destiny and take your spot. You know what? Why am I reading here? Why risk it? Why risk it? Come back home. Spuds makes it known that the Carters took him in when no one else could or would. And they were like brothers. But then came the firing, the slapping, and the scalping. It's always about Ethan. He calls him a selfish, self-entitled prick. His words, not mine. He can take his nose and his aunt and stick it where the sun don't shine. Rockstar Spud is cashing in. Carter nails him from behind. Angle says, you know what, we're going to do a tag match later tonight. And we set up our main event, which is Rockstar Spud and Kurt Angle against EC3 and Tyrus. Austin Aries and Bobby Roode are talking in the back. Aries hands Roode a new shirt. It is revealed later it is a Dirty Heels shirt, but I'll get to that. James Storm and Mickie James are in Nashville. Mickie, you're a star in wrestling and in music. I can give you so much more. Music's always going to be there, but I want you to join me on my journey. Be by my side. Let me give you gifts. Magnus can't do that for you. He can't give you what I can. He's a stain. He can't provide for you. Look, you and your son Donovan, join me in my revolution. And Mickey's like, James, are you serious? You know, I can't even believe you right now. First off, and she says it so fast that it basically sounds like she said Magnus is her son. But she basically says, Magnus and I's son is who she's talking about when she's talking about Donovan. I'm engaged to him. I love him. That's our child. We have a family. You know, yada, yada, yada. If this isn't on a friendly basis, I'm sorry. You know, I gotta go. And Storm's like, you know what? Wait. Look, my bad. I took this the wrong way. It's fine. I apologize. Whatever you decide, I'm in as a friend. Watch out. There's a lot of crazies out there. I like this program a lot. I love the personalities of everyone involved here. And you really have a lot of sympathy for, and I guess by design, you're kind of not supposed to, but you kind of have a little bit of sympathy for James Storm, even though he's a snake in the grass, or a snake in the boot, I guess you want to look at it. But, yeah, it's just, Magnus is really portrayed as a total loser in this, and you don't really feel for him at all. At least, I don't. But you're not really getting Magnus' side of the story here, which is weird to say. But I think that we're going to start getting it in the near future, and I think, based on what happens at the end of this tonight, I would say that we're going to find out sooner rather than later what Magnus thinks of the situation. Match number 3 in the Best of 5 series for the vacant TNA World Tag Team Championships. The Wolves, which are up 2-0 now, against the Dirty Heels, which have not won yet. Lots to talk about in this one, and what a match it was. Right on the get-go, Aries locks on the last chancery, Davey Richards gets to the ropes, and we go from there. So Rude hits a gourd buster on Davey. Rude goes for the catapult, sending him into Aries, and of course, it gets stopped by Davey, and he decks him, knocks him off the ring apron. Standing double stomp, and hot tag into Eddie is cut off this time by Aries, pulling Eddie to the floor. Smart move there. So Davey fights his way out of the Dirty Heels corner. Davey charges in, gets caught by Bobby Roode trying to make the tag. Sunset flip transition into a tag, and Eddie Edwards is the legal man. He charges in, he boots Austin Aries off the ring apron, and he catches 2 back elbows, inverted atomic drop, whip in, reverse, slides through the legs of Bobby Roode, and he connects with a side kick to the ribs, nails the Shining Wizard, and when Aries comes in to try to stop any of this, he gets a fireman's carry, turned out basically into a sit-out version of the F5, pretty much, in essence. Repeated chops on the Rude, stopped by a back chop from Aries from behind. Aries rakes the eyes for good measure. The double suplex is stopped by Davey. The Dirty Heels both low bridge over the top rope to the floor, stereo topes by the Wolves. And back in the ring, Eddie hits the enziguri kick to Davey, the German, and, the enziguri kick to Davey's German, and Eddie with a jackknife cover, all on Bobby Roode, 1-2, and a kick out. So Force of Nature is set up, Powerbomb's ready to go, the lung blower is going to be set up, but the lung blower is stopped by Austin Aries pulling Davey Richards to the floor. So Bobby Roode, with the slingshot, into Aries' forearm, draped across the knees, and the slingshot into the corkscrew splash, because basically it was a corkscrew splash here, kind of hit an elbow somewhat. Rude with a jackknife cover, turned about his fair play, 1-2, and a kick out. So they hit the double whip. Rude whips Aries in, and he gets caught, backdropped over the top rope to the ring apron. Aries eats a short back elbow. Rude charges in, and Eddie ducks, and Rude inadvertently knocks Austin Aries off the ring apron. So they hit the pop-up kick, Davey with a vertical suplex position, and of course this transitions to Eddie Edwards super kick right into the Falcon Arrow, and Eddie makes the cover, Aries makes the save. So Davey tosses Aries, and the Wolves both head up top for the double foot stomp. Of course, they howl, and like it's ready to finish off the Dirty Heels. 3-zip in this right now. Austin Aries grabs Davey Richards, pulls him off the top rope. He hot shots himself across the top rope. He falls to the floor. Rude ends up on the middle rope, and he gets caught with a high kick. Eddie going for the chin checker, but it gets stopped by the IED from Aries, shoved off with the double R spine buster. Aries heads up top, 450. Rude makes the cover, 1-2, and no, he's able to kick out, even though Aries was holding his partner at bay. So Aries tosses Davey Richards to the floor, heat-seeking missile to Davey Richards, and Aries grabs a steel chair, slides it in. Rude's like, no, I'm not going to do this. I can't do it. I can't use a chair. But he ends up getting rolled up from behind, 1-2, and a kick out. So Aries distracts referee Brian Hebner, and this allows Bobby Roode to go low with a low blow, and he ends the match with a chair shot to the back viciously. Hebner turns back around, 1-2-3. Dirty Heels win 1, finally, in this Best of 5 series. The next time they will face off will be not this coming week, not tonight, but next Wednesday night. There will be a singles match, and the winner of the singles match will get to choose the stipulation for match number 4. And obviously we're going to culminate in match number 5, the finals being at Slammiversary. So obviously we're looking at the Dirty Heels to tie it up, and we end up going to the rubber match at Slammiversary. And I'm not exactly sure who's going to win here. The Wolves have been mentioned that they are under new contracts. Been proven false. Austin Aries' contract's up very soon. I think Rude's still with the company, so it's anyone's guess what's going to happen with this. I don't know if the Dirty Heels are going to win or if the Wolves are going to win. It's anyone's guess at this point. So Mickie James and James Storm are walking the train station in Nashville. And they're talking, and he mentioned something about, you check your phone. I thought I saw it go off. And she looks down, and Storm just hip checks her off the train platform. And we hear the train whistle and everything in the background. And Storm just very unapologetically goes, boy, that's a long way down. You made your decision. I made mine. She grabs the phone and says, hey, Nick, it's good old Uncle James. Mickie won't be making it home for dinner. And he just nonchalantly whistles and walks away. This is shot via security footage. It's done in black and white. When Billy Corgan was brought in the company, and we had a very big interview saying that Billy Corgan was going to shake things up in Impact Wrestling, this kind of storyline was what he was talking about. He said he was going to push the envelope. He was going to do a lot more reality-based storylines. You don't get any more real than this. Everyone has been through this situation before. And the weird direction to take this, I know what they say. Any publicity is good publicity, whether it's in a favorable light or a very unfavorable light. I know a lot of people don't like the storyline. I did. I thought it worked really well. You play up James Storm like he's trustworthy, and then he has this side to him where he basically knocked his friend off a train platform, and who knows, he doesn't really care if she gets hit by a train or not. So there. Obviously, it's been proven via Twitter that she's fine, just a little shaken up. She just wants some answers, and probably she's going to confront James Storm this coming week on Impact and try to get her answers. I think they probably wait that out. I think that they probably end up doing that. If they obviously haven't shot anything, I would think they would do that possibly on the Impact taping at the end of this month, which I think is the right direction to go at this point. I like this. I just like this. I don't know why. I just did. I think everybody involved works, and it seems a little cartoony, but I think Billy Corgan wanted to push the envelope, and I think he did a great job at doing just that. So yeah, he's got buzz for TNA, whether it's good or bad. So, I mean, they're on the minds of somebody, so I guess that's a good thing. Another person I really enjoy that I find extremely attractive, and that's Madison Rayne. And she comes to the ring, and she basically says, I'm frustrated. You know, unless you twerk or shove suckers down people's throats or, God forbid, or Gail Kim, you get nothing in this company. All of you out there in the back, you make me sick. And somebody out there like Velvet, who doesn't even work for this company, who was absolutely fired, she gets anything she wants. She can come through the crowd willy-nilly and, you know, maybe, I don't know, if you cheer loud enough, maybe she'll show up. It's like fairies. It's like Tinkerbell. I mean, it makes perfect sense. So, Velvet does show up, and she gets in the ring, because, like Madison said, it's like, oh, she'd go past the security rail, it doesn't matter, who cares? She do whatever she wants. Madison ends up slapping her in the face, Velvet spears her, and gives her the Ace Crusher. Angelina comes out with her security team, and Velvet attacks them, because she has nothing else to lose. So they handcuff Velvet, and Angelina comes in and slaps Velvet, and they take her away. Angelina is like, oh, I got one over on Velvet, finally. And then a different shirted security comes out, and they make a mention that she hit a fan, so she's being arrested too. I like this. I like this a lot. And I think the blow-off that we're leading towards is going to be really fun in the long run. Madison Rayne now is equaled out into this, so all three members of the Beautiful People all have a stake in this, and I think that they're going to start making Madison a bigger part of it as we go forward now. So, Velvet, Angelina, and Madison, the battle between the former Beautiful People, all three of them, I think that that's probably a match we're leading towards for Slammiversary, and I think that makes sense. We get Taryn Terrell in her dollhouse, and she basically says she's going to expose a new side of the Knockouts division. So, I like Taryn Terrell. She gets better and better every time. Her promos seem to be a little grating, but that's the character she's portraying right now. I think it makes sense. I think it works really well, and I'm really curious to see where we go from here. Obviously, Taryn and Kong will be facing off tonight on Impact, because this is the Destination X version of Impact, but we'll talk about that at the end of this. Main event time. Kurt Angle and Rockstar Spud against Ethan Carter III and Tyrus. It's very short for a televised main event. It almost felt like a Raw main event, actually, make a weird comparison. So they cut the ring off on Rockstar Spud. EC3 splash, not Stinger splash in the corner, and he steps on Spud's hand, and he hits an overhead belly to belly, gets up in Kurt Angle's face, kind of like, I dare you to do something. But Spud ends up finally finding a way to crawl through the legs, tags in Kurt Angle. EC3 tags out to Tyrus. Angle low bridges Tyrus, who very slowly goes over the top rope to the floor. The drop toe hold and EC3 locks on the ankle lock. Tyrus with the kidney forearm stops that. Whip in, charges in. Angle makes him eat the boot, and Spud tags himself in. Angle leaps into Tyrus's bear hug, which gets stopped by a missile dropkick from Rockstar Spud. So Angle drops the straps, hits the Angle slam on Tyrus, and Rockstar Spud jumps on for the 3 count. So Spud and Angle win. Austin Aries comes out. He admires Rockstar Spud's heart, but he questions his decision-making. Aries is cashing in to face the World Heavyweight Champion, and once again, he's going to win. And the show basically ends with both Angle and Spud staring at Austin Aries and what happens, so wondering what's going to happen next. I like this. I like this in every way possible. What I'd recommend on this week's show... let's see. The Dirty Heels and the Wolves. Spectacular match. Spectacular match. I love calling every second of it. Wrestling-wise, that's probably what I would recommend on the show. Yeah. Eric Young and Lashley was okay for what it was. It was short. Jaden Brooke, it was okay for what it was. Beatdown Clan, The Rising, could have been a little bit longer. I would have understood if it was. So, yeah, that's basically what we got for this week. Main event was fine. Short, but fine. Televised main event makes perfect sense. Destination X is tonight, 9 p.m. on Destination America, and we'll have the following matches. Obviously, Kurt Angle will put the TNA World Heavyweight Championship on the line against Rockstar Spud, cashing in Option C, and as well vacating the TNA X Division Championship. And what happens to that? Oh, I'll tell you what happens to that. There's going to be 9 men, 3 three-way dances. The winning 3 participants will move on to a 3-way, presumably at Destination, at a Slammiversary, to crown the brand new TNA X Division champion. Who's a part of this? Oh, I'll tell you. So, in the first tournament match, we're going to have the returning Grado taking on Jonathan Cruz, as well as Kenny King. Match number 2. Manic faces off against Low Key and Crazy Steve. Third match, Tigre Uno, DJ Zima Ion, and Mark Andrews. Mandrews in action. You're also going to see the Knockouts Championship on the line. Taryn Terrell with the Dollhouse defends against Awesome Kong. You're also going to see Bram has made a challenge out to someone from Impact Wrestling's past who's going to accept the challenge. I actually do know this, but I can't talk about it. Let's just say it's not going to be a very easy night for Bram. We'll just put it that way. We'll see who that person is going to be tonight on Impact. Plus, if somehow, someway, Kurt Angle is able to retain, or if somehow, someway, a miracle happens and Rockstar Spud is able to win, waiting in the wings with the Feast or Fired briefcase is Austin Aries to cash in, to presumably take the championship from whomever wins. So that's what we've got for Destination X. And given the fact that this is almost the middle of June now. Well, okay, it's like the first week of June, so there we go. Obviously, days are kind of running together. If you want to be in attendance in Orlando for the next set of TNA Impact tapings at Soundstage 20, there is a package online currently for $99.99 per person, and that will get you some great access to all 4 shows, including Slammiversary itself, plus a lot of meet and greets. There is some special Slammiversary 13th anniversary party that's going to happen. There's going to be priority entries to the shows, and you'll have VIP credentials, and there's going to be a lot of special things. That party will include a catered dinner, probably from the Hard Rock, if I had to guess, since it's right next door. Literally right next door. It's Soundstage 20 after all. So that's what we've got coming your way. And if you're interested in that VIP package, you can check out shoptna.com and check that out. 5 days of TNA Impact Wrestling, and you can do that for your dollar and check that out. And while you're at it, check out Universal Orlando. There's a lot of really awesome things at Universal, and obviously we've got some great things coming from Universal, and that's a great way to segue into what's happening later tonight. 7 o'clock p.m., Universal Orlando Parks and Resorts podcast. Yeah, we're going to be doing a Universal Parks and Resorts podcast, and we're going to be talking about Orlando, Hollywood, Japan, and Singapore, and that will be an all-star panel of myself, joined by new popcasters, Tristan, Alex, and James. James will be joining us for another podcast, and we'll also be joined by two of the Horror Nights updaters, which are Vic and Aaron. They're going to be joining us, and Mr. Entertainment will be a part of this as well. So yeah, Aaron. So two Aarons on the same. It's like the world's going to explode. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, that's coming your way. Also, we have a brand new Sip and Snack coming your way tomorrow, and since AJ and myself are going to Jurassic World, that means that we're going to have we're going to have that video up super early on Friday, so mark my words, it'll be there up super early. Could have some new podcasts coming this weekend when we get some announcements for Orlando or Hollywood. We're going to see some podcasts, we'll see some videos on this channel, Halloween Horror Nights branded, very, very soon. So, that being said, that is your video for this week. As always, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, help spread the word about Pop. If you haven't yet, click like on our Facebook fan page. Just takes a second. Suro and Disney Pop, or search for Suro and Disney and Pop. While you're there, friend request me at Owen Disney, or you can tweet me at Suro and Disney. Last but certainly not least, you want to talk wrestling with me, or Universal, or Disney, Halloween Horror Nights, you want to ask me questions, you want to have ideas for Versus, Sip and Snack, or the sabbatical vlog of randomness, which is coming back soon. Or if you are a theme park or wrestling podcast and you'd like me to be part of your show, then you're more than welcome to do so. And last but certainly not least, if you want to become part of this Popcaster revolution and join Pop, you're more than welcome to send your content to suroanddisney@gmail.com. So in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.